Welcome back, MTN Nets podcast. This Nets team does not make any sense. They really were supposed to be like 18 and a half was their win total. They're already 8-10. 18 games into the season, they're the 7th seed. They're 5-1 against Western Conference teams. That's like the best record for any Eastern Conference team versus the West. They're off to a 2-0 start on this road trip. I just saw this graphic that they've won their first 4 road games versus the West, which is the first time in franchise history that's happened. This team that had pretty much no expectations is coming out, finding ways to win games, and they're even doing it with a lot of injuries, which is the crazier part. I mean, it just shows you the tremendous job Jordi Fernandez has done, the way these guys have bought in. The bench is always so into the game and involved, and even on the road games, the bench is so loud. I think they make that an emphasis of like, hey, the crowd's not on our side, so you guys on the bench have to get loud when things go our way. And even, I know he takes a lot of shit, but even Ben Simmons was up and high-fiving guys and just getting up when big plays would happen. And you go down the list of who was out this game, right? They're playing the 12-4 Golden State Warriors at home. I believe Golden State was favored by, I didn't see what it was, but I mean, they had to be favored by a pretty good amount tonight. Yeah, it was Golden State minus 13.5. I figured it was a crazy spread. And the Nets come out and win this game by 8. It really just doesn't make sense. Anyway, the injuries. Dorian Finney-Smith is out. He missed like the last 2 or 3 games. Noah Clowney sprained his ankle last game. He's out. Cam Johnson, he sprained his ankle in the first quarter, did not come back for the second half. Of course, Bojan Bogdanovic has not played this year. Ben Simmons can't play back-to-backs, as we know. Nick Claxton has the back soreness. Day'Ron Sharpe is still out. Cam Thomas didn't even play the final quarter and a half. I think he tweaked his back injury. I hope he's okay. But all those injuries I just listed, and they still won this damn game. It just doesn't make sense. Like, I want to be excited, of course, but I know that big picture-wise, once we get to the summer and we might have like the 10th overall pick, we're going to be like, shit, I wish they lost those games. And it sucks to say that because they're such a likable team. I really do like this group. This is probably the most likable Nets team in a long time. I know a lot of people love that 18-19 team, but like this team is pretty much at that level right now. It feels like we'll see. There's a lot of season left, obviously. That's probably like not even a quarter of the way done. At least so far, there's something that feels special about this Nets team. Even guys that they just picked up for nothing, like Zaire Williams came out tonight and had a fantastic game. Shoots 2 of 3 from 3, 19 points, great defense. Went toe-to-toe with Draymond Green. I mean, second-round pick Jalen Wilson shoots the ball well, 5 of 11, 3 of 8 from 3. Bodied Draymond Green on an and one in this game in the fourth quarter, was a plus 18. And in this game, I forgot to mention, the Nets were down 18 in the third quarter. And then Jordi calls timeout, and the entire game shifted. I want to see like the game cast and kind of see what the score was, what the Warriors' percentage of winning was, because at one point in this game, it looked like it was over. Yeah, it was 70. This wasn't the biggest lead, I don't think. I'm trying to find it. At one point, it was 70-86 in the third quarter. 6:47 to go in the third quarter. Warriors up by 16. They were up 18 at one point, but they had a 97.7% chance of winning this game, according to the whole win probability thing. And it's just crazy. The Nets went on this big run. It was like an 18-4 run extended, and there was probably another run in there at some point, and they found a way to just win this game in the fourth quarter with guys that you would not really expect. I mean, Dennis Schroeder, of course, like he's the veteran. He played well in this game, had 31 points and shot over 50%. He was great. But without Cam Johnson, without Cam Thomas, 2 of the better players the Nets have going into this game, they really don't play much in the second half, and you just go out there with Jalen Wilson, Zaire Williams, and Schroeder. Trendon Watford was out there, Shake Milton, Tyrese Martin was out there, Keon Johnson played some key minutes, had a nice dunk, which he does here and there, and they find a way to win. So I feel bad because I do like this team, but at the same time, like you think about the big picture, and I've made this connection before. It really feels like the 2022 New York Giants, and that really screwed the Giants for the next couple years. So I hope we don't look back on this Nets season and say, shit, like that really screwed up the whole Nets rebuild. And yeah, we'll see. It's a draft lottery. Anything can happen. And there's a lot of season left. Once again, not even a quarter of the way done. But I don't know. I don't know what to feel, obviously. You can tell I'm very torn about how to feel about this. Because I've never, I don't want to say never, but it's been a long time since we've had to root for a Nets tank, right? Every time the Nets have sucked in recent years, you think back to 2016, 17, 18, the Celtics had our first round pick, or the Cavaliers in that one year. So there was no incentive to really lose games. Now the Nets have an incentive to lose games. They traded a lot of those Phoenix picks to get their own picks back, and now it's like shit. Like they're going to win too many games now. And if they traded all those Phoenix picks, and we see how bad Phoenix is when Kevin Durant's out, they're 1-8 without him. They're awful. They get KD back tomorrow. I don't know if he's going to play Wednesday versus the Nets. I think the Nets play Phoenix Wednesday. It'll be interesting to see if KD and Bradley Beal play a back-to-back, because they should be back tomorrow. I think they play the Lakers, so that's a wait and see. But anyway, point is, they gave up a lot of picks to get their own picks back, the Nets. And now they're winning a lot of games. And, there was obviously some speculation in the offseason. Would they trade some of the veterans? Of course, Dorian Finney-Smith's name was brought up a lot. He's been out now for a few games, so I don't know what's going on there, but he's still on the roster. I'm sure he'll be back soon. And, of course, Dennis Schroeder, he's one. And then Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson, who before tonight was playing at such an elite level. Some of the games he's had recently, I even go back to last night versus the Kings, and this guy's having the best season of his career. Last night, no, it wasn't the Kings game, sorry. It was the game versus Philly on Friday, and they were at Philadelphia. He had 37 points. I think his career high is 39 or 38, so he was right there. But back-to-back, he had a 34-point game in the win versus Charlotte last Tuesday, and then he had the Friday game, 37 points. Cam Johnson's had some ridiculous games. I saw Cam Johnson made a list of I forget what the numbers were, but he was on a list with Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving, and just a bunch of great players for something he did over a stretch of a few games. Cam Johnson's been so good for this team, and he's 28, he's a wing player. I don't want to say he's a great two-way player. His defense could obviously be better, but just as a shooter, as a guy who can now even create his own offense, he looks healthy now. It sucks that he went down tonight, which is part of the reason I wanted him traded. I feel like now his value is just as high as it's going to get, and there's another reason as well, and I got into an argument on Twitter about this with somebody. Seeing him get hurt, it sucks because he was having a great year, and hopefully, once again, it's not bad. It's hopefully just an ankle sprain. It didn't look like an ankle sprain, which was weird. He landed on Draymond Green's foot, and it just, I don't know, it's just one of those weird things. I would not be surprised if it's something that ends up worse, especially with Cam Johnson and his injury history, but I hope for the best. But the point is, it's not about the return you were going to get for Cam Johnson. It's almost more important to get Cam Johnson off the roster so that you lose more games and get, a top 5 pick in this 2025 draft. People are so worried about the compensation and what the Nets would get for Cam Johnson over the summer. And it's they probably still would have gotten a first round pick, but maybe he plays up his value a bit, but he's going to get hurt at some point, which he did tonight. And now you have to hope that it's not a long-term thing and he's back soon, but you're just playing with fire at that point. You're playing with fire because he can get hurt, which he did. Cam Johnson playing at this level is just another good player on the Nets, which would make the Nets win more games, which I don't think is their goal. Now, Sean Marks, he basically came out and said in an interview that he likes what he sees so far and has no plans of, going away from this, but you have to think in the back of Sean Marks' mind, that's just lip service. He definitely knows. Sean Marks is smart enough to know, okay, this winning is probably not the best thing for us. And maybe if the Nets win so many games that it'll speed up the process and they might just say screw it and start trading all these picks. And maybe we do see Giannis Antetokounmpo as a net next year. Maybe we see De'Aaron Fox or someone else teamed up with him. I have no idea. just brainstorming here, but it might kind of like just speed up that process of a team that was once going to go for a rebuild now is going to go for like trying to acquire big name stars because this team is too good apparently to tank. And that's just, it's a good thing and a bad thing. I love what I've seen from Jordi. I love the way this team moves the ball. I love the way they never quit. It never feels like they're done in a game. Like they might have had one game that got blown out in this year, but like every other Nets game, they find a way to just hang around. They'll get down by 15. Tonight was 18, and they'll just like find a way to come back. They put together like a little 9-0 run in this game. I mentioned the extended 18-4 run, and they just find a way to just piss teams off. And like the Nets are a team that if you're not prepared to play on that particular night, like you can be a better team, right? The Warriors are obviously a better team than the Brooklyn Nets, just roster-wise, especially with all the injuries tonight. If you're a team that comes out and you're not ready to play, like this Brooklyn Nets team will take advantage of that, and they'll probably win the game. So I'm trying to think, which games were they out of it? Like they lost pretty bad to Boston the second time they played them. Of course, the first time it went to overtime. They had a loss versus Detroit by 14, but like a lot of their losses are by 4 points. I mean, they lost to Orlando by 15 the second game of the year, but an overtime loss to the Nuggets. You had the overtime loss to Boston, a 2-point loss to the Knicks. I mean, the Sixers won by 15, but I felt like that game was kind of close for a while. They find a way to stick around, and now the Nets they're 2-1 on this road trip. I mean, they started the road trip in Philly, but this West Coast trip at least, they're 2-0 so far. Get up to 8-10. They're going to face Phoenix on Wednesday, back home, a back-to-back versus Orlando on Friday and Sunday. You know, the schedule gets harder, so maybe the losses will start to come. I mean, especially if Phoenix has their full team on Wednesday, you would think the Suns can win that game. Of course, the Nets beat the Suns last year in Phoenix. It was great. That was the Nick Claxton game where we hit the corner three and Kevin Durant gave him that look. It was great. So Orlando, I forget if Paolo is still out. I forget if he is. He probably is. I feel like he had a long-term injury. But I know Wagner's playing pretty well and, you know, stepping up in his place. And I felt good for Jordi last night in the Sacramento game. Like, obviously, if he came from Sacramento, he was with Denver before that, of course. But just beating a guy who, you know, you were an assistant for last year, beating a team that you were an assistant for last year, that has to feel great for Jordi Fernandez. So I kind of feel happy for him in that regard. Of course, I wanted the Nets to lose that game, of course, but I do feel happy for Jordi on a personal level. Since I last talked to you guys, there's been a lot of Cam Thomas trade speculation. I wanted to kind of touch on that and give my thoughts. Unless you're getting a Mikal Bridges level haul, which I do not think they'll ever get. I don't want to say ever, but they will not get that right now for Cam Thomas. I would just hang on to him. I think there's things about Cam Thomas that piss me off. I'm not one of those Nets fans who just thinks Cam Thomas is God and Kobe Bryant 2.0. There are things about Cam that piss me off. He's been pouting a lot to referees this year, not getting back on defense. There was a play in this game where he missed a three from the right wing, didn't get back on defense, kind of just half-assed it on the way back, gave up a dunk on the other end. Like, there's been times where the effort's been bad. There's times he'll, you know, cry for a foul. He'll stay on the floor. Meanwhile, the opponent is on the other side, and it's a 5-on-4 because Cam is laying on the ground and not getting back on defense. There's little things like that. It's mental, of course, and, you know, a lot of it is just, once again, complaining to referees. So it's things you can fix, but there are things about Cam Thomas's game that piss me off. The passing has looked better, I have to admit. Like, from his rookie year till now, there's such a big difference in the way he's passing the ball. He had a great pass tonight where he went baseline. The corner pass was going to get intercepted. He swung it back out to like the left wing. It was like it was a really nice like wraparound type of pass. And someone else on the Nets had a nice pass like that too. I forget. Might have been like Keon Johnson or Watford, I forget now. But me personally, yeah, I am not trading Cam. I would keep him. I would trade Cam Johnson, but Cam Thomas at 23 years old and showing the scoring ability he has and showing the growth as a player that he has, it really should not go unnoticed. I don't think he'll ever be a number one option. I think Cam could be a number two. But if you like paired up Cam Thomas with like I'm just going to say Giannis because his name's been thrown out there, like that'd be a great 1-2 punch. It might turn out like the Bucks now with Dame and Giannis, so it might not be great, but stuff like that could work. I think Cam Thomas, if you pair him up with a Giannis level player, that could play. Like, I don't know if that's a championship team. Maybe with this coach it is because the Nets are apparently great with Jordi Fernandez. But if you like put Cam Thomas with like a try-hard superstar like a Giannis and then like surround him with other try-hard players, like players that are kind of built like Zaire Williams and whoever else, Jalen Wilson. Of course, they'll have to have more talent, but you get what I'm saying. Like, that is a team that can do something. So I'm not really on the whole trade for a superstar thing. I want to see how this year plays out. And as I said, it's still very early. Like, I remember last year, this team started out like 12-8 or something. And of course, the Nets missed the entire play-in. Like, they were the 11th or 12th seed last year. So a lot can change from now until April. So I don't want to get too worked up about what the record is right now, and there's so much that can change. But I do want to trade these veterans still. I have not changed my stance on that. Like, I want to see that change. I do want to see Schroeder moved somewhere. I do want to see Finney-Smith move somewhere, which feels like it's almost 2 years overdue now with Finney-Smith. I mean, I like Dorian as a player, but like, he just never made sense for this team long term, so I don't know why he's still here. Maybe Sean Marks has not got the package he wants for Dorian, but there was the rumor that when the Nets first acquired Finney-Smith in that 2023 deadline, that they could have traded him for 2 first-round picks. So it's like they could have done that. They missed on that opportunity, and now they kind of have to live with it. But Finney-Smith has been shooting the ball very well the last 3 games he's played. Of course, he's missed the last few, so we'll see what he's like when he comes back. Unfortunately for us, it looks like Milwaukee is finally getting their you-know-what together. Of course, the Nets own the Bucks pick, and the Nets beat them earlier this year. It was their first win of the year. But Milwaukee, who started off the year at 2-8, they have now won, they've won 6 of their last 7 games, it looks like, and 4 in a row. So they're back up to 8-9. Giannis is playing at an unbelievable level, had a 59-point game versus the Pistons the other night. It was like a couple weeks ago. That game pissed me off because one of those Pistons players, it was a rookie, I forget his name now, but he had to make 1 of 2 free throws to win the game, and he missed both. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? So the Bucks are almost back to 500. But that's what I'm saying. Like, some of these teams that are below the Nets in the standings, I want to see who's still below them. Like, you would have to think, I feel like Detroit is still a better team than Brooklyn on paper. I know it's kind of weird to say that, but they should be ahead of the Nets. Even Philly, I still have some faith that Philly can get their stuff together. Maybe Atlanta, who's 7-11 right now. Maybe Chicago. But for the Nets to be the 7 or 8 seed right now, it just does not make a lot of sense, and I don't think it's going to last. But for this team to be as bad as Toronto or the Wizards, I just don't see that happening. Even the Utah Jazz, who are 4-12. The Pelicans are interesting. I know Zion's out now with a hamstring, and DeJounte's out, McCollum's out. Who else? I mean, they've had a lot of injuries, of course, so that team should get better. So, there's maybe 3 teams, and even Portland. Portland's kind of bad, too. I mean, they're 7-11 now, but still, Portland's down there. There's 4, maybe 5 teams that I know for sure are worse than the Nets. So, maybe the Nets end up with the 5th or 6th worst record in the NBA this year. So much has to play out. And if they can get into, the 5th or 6th worst spot, then, okay, they'll have decent odds to get in the top 5, and maybe it happens, but it's a whole wait and see. So overall, I've been impressed with this team, and Jordi Fernandez I saw as a plus 7,000 for Coach of the Year. I know Kenny Atkinson, our old friend, he's a minus 130. I just looked at this too, and I posted this on Twitter because I was curious. I was like, I wonder what Jordi Fernandez's odds are to be Coach of the Year, and I was pretty surprised of how low he was. He was the 14th or 16th coach on the list. Even guys like Mike Brown, Jason Kidd, Chris Finch, Eric Spoelstra, Tom Thibodeau are over him. Kenny Atkinson's a minus 130, Ime Udoka plus 800, Steve Kerr plus 850, Missoula's plus 1100, even JJ Redick's up there plus 1800. So Jordi Fernandez plus 7,000. Obviously, Vegas does not buy into the whole Nets being great the rest of the year thing, which I guess makes me feel kind of good in terms of tanking, but at least so far they have looked really good. So I kind of want to go through the individual performances. I mean, Jalen Wilson, as I said, played a nice game, was aggressive, and Jalen Wilson, you can tell the growth. He's a different player from last year, way more confident in putting the ball on the floor. He's so decisive now, I would say is the word I'd use for him. He's so good now at just catching the ball and just going straight into that rip through move and going to the rim. And sometimes he'll have to go behind the back if a defender cuts him off. He can do that now. So he's definitely added more skills to his game, and he put his shoulder in the Draymond today, had the and one. The Warriors challenged that call. It was not overturned. So Draymond got bitched by Jalen Wilson. That was funny. Zaire Williams, he played 37 minutes tonight, but 2 of 3 from downtown, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. Had one of those steals where he had a breakaway dunk, which I feel like he does this like once a game now, so that was great. Schroeder has his moments where he annoys me, but I would say like he has some games like tonight where he's just so good. Made that clutch bank shot from like I don't want to say left corner, but like somewhere from like the left elbow area. And that was a big shot in the fourth quarter. So he was 10 of 18, 31 points. He was a -5, which not many guys were minus in this game. But also, he was 7 for 7 at the line. That was big in this game. Free throw shooting was great for Brooklyn. They were 26 for 30 at the line in this game. So that was big. I remember last game, the Kings did not shoot well from the line, so that kind of shot themselves in the foot there. The Warriors, out of curiosity, were 11 for 17. So yeah, the Nets shot more free throws and they shot a better percentage by a lot. So that was a big difference in this game as well. I mentioned Cam Thomas, only 23 minutes because he missed the last quarter and a half. But when he was out there, he was looking really good at times. Only 1 turnover. That was good to see. He did have 1 assist. I felt like he might have had a couple more if guys just made shots. A really nice scoring game for him. He facilitated pretty well despite the 1 assist. As I said, there's times Cam has to get back on defense and not pout to the referees. Trendon Watford, he made a big three-pointer in this game. Made a couple of threes in this game, but one like dagger three-pointer from the left wing, nothing but net, which you don't see many Trendon Watford nothing but net shots because his shot is such a line drive. It's like Kawhi Leonard type, Kawhi's a guy who shoots on a line, and I feel like Trendon Watford, like he doesn't jump high on his shot. Like Trendon Watford really doesn't get too high, and like whether he jumps on a rebound or on his jump shot, but he shoots a line drive shot. But this one was nothing but net from the left wing, so that was a great one to see. Only 8 points, but he played well. 4 rebounds as well, 1 block. He had a block, I think it was last game because Claxton was playing against Sacramento. I think it was Sabonis trying to back down on Claxton, and Watford came weak side and like just swatted his shot into the second row. It was a great block by Trendon Watford. Shake Milton played well. Shake Milton had a couple of moments in this game where I was like, I did not know he had that. Like, he had a great baseline shot, turnaround. He had one play where, I forget, he didn't, like, shake the guy out of his shoes. No pun intended with shake. But had, like, a really nice, I forget if it was, like, a turnaround shot or whatever it was. Like, it was in the paint, maybe, like, 7-8 feet from the basket. But just a couple of things he did tonight where I was like, I did not know he had that. So, Shake Milton played really well. Had like a snatchback where he almost made the shot. That would have been a great highlight, but he missed it. So he looked good. Tyrese Martin has a nice looking jump shot. Only 1 of 5. All his shots were 3-pointers, but when it goes in, it looks great. 6 rebounds. That was big. 3 assists. He was also a +6. Keon Johnson got 30 minutes tonight. Obviously, with all the injuries, he was 3 of 9, 2 of 7 from 3. Did have 3 rebounds, and I mentioned had that nice dunk as well. And the Nets really came out this game and shot the ball so well. I think they were up like 9-2 early. They made 3 straight threes. I'm trying to think who made them now. I think Cam made 1. Both Cams made 1, and I think might have been Schroeder. They came out and shot the ball fantastic. And the Warriors called a quick timeout. It was like 9-2. Nets won in the first quarter, 34-30. And Nets won in the fourth quarter, 41-28. So just a massive fourth quarter. The last quarter and a half, honestly, the Nets played so well. It felt like the Warriors could not get anything going offensively. Curry had his moments of greatness. He had the and 1 3-pointer, had that one awesome 3 where Schroeder dove for the ball. Curry picked it up, 1 dribble, nothing but net. Like, that's just what he does. Even like a Moses Moody, he played well in this game. You had Lindy Waters, he played okay. He was 5 of 10, 13 points. Wiggins, who had been playing well, I guess Wiggins was all right tonight, 18 points, 7 of 13, and Steph was 8 of 16 from 3, so it's like not Steph's greatest performance. I felt like Draymond had a bad night. Draymond definitely has had better games. He made a 3-pointer, I remember, but yeah, Draymond just not his biggest impact of a game. Buddy Hield, he's been good this year, but not good in this game. Gary Payton had his usual hustle plays, but yeah, I felt like the Nets kept guys in check, and Kuminga didn't play in this game, which it's weird. I feel like Kuminga, I forget if he's hurt or not, but he has had some DNPs this year, like coach's decisions, so I don't know what happened there. I mean, he played on the 22nd versus New Orleans, but I felt like there was a game after that too, so maybe there are just games where Kuminga just gets flat out benched, where he's 22 years old. He just turned 22. I mean, like, he's super young. That's a guy who, if the Nets do move Cam Johnson, like, go get Kuminga, you know? I mean, I think Cam Johnson's a better player right now, obviously, but 22-year-old Kuminga with his upside, I feel like that's a shot worth taking. If there's no spot for him in the Warriors rotation and they're still fixated on trying to win an NBA title right now, I mean, see if you can make that happen. I feel like that's something that would make sense for both sides. I mean, we'll see how that one plays out in the future, but if the Nets got Kuminga, that would be exciting. I think that's pretty much what I wanted to get to in this video. I have not talked to you guys in a long time, I feel like, so I try to plan out when I do my Nets videos, but then, like, you know, it's tough during football season. It's definitely easier to make these once football season's over, because just I'm busier during this time. But I took off work tomorrow, so I have enough time on my hands to make this reaction. So I guess this was worth staying up for. The Nets got the win. So if you want the wins, it was great. If you want the losses, you're very torn, as you can tell from me. But yeah, they're 8-10, so it's been a crazy year so far. We'll see what happens in the upcoming schedule. As I said, they're at Phoenix. They have a couple versus the Magic back-to-back, so we're going to see what happens. But next time I talk to you guys, maybe they'll be above 500. Maybe they'll be on a losing streak. I don't know, but we'll find out what happens. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys next time.